أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. عليكم مني جميعا سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت، وبقي الليل والنهار، ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين وعلى أخته العقيلة زينب، على أخيه أبا الفضل العباس قمر بني هاشم، ورحمة الله وبركاته. Before we start, I want to take a particular notion where there was a tragedy that occurred in the time of Imam Hassan al-Askari, whereby they would say there was a drought that struck the people in Samarra, and they would say all of a sudden the Muslims would gather and they'd pray towards Allah, but no rain would fall. And there was a Christian man that would come, he would raise his hands in dua, and all of a sudden the rains would begin to fall. And they come towards the Khalifa of the time to ask him, what's happening exactly? Why is the rains falling for the person that's praying in the honor of Isa, but not the one that's praying in the honor of Rasulullah? So he would say, I would not have any idea. And he would tell them, go towards the son of Rasulullah by the name of Hassan al-Askari. And when you'd go towards Hassan al-Askari, Imam Hassan al-Askari would say, that bring him again, pray for the rains to fall. But this time when the Christian man raises his hands, he has something in his garments. As soon as he raises his hands, grab his hand, make sure that which is under his garments does not see the sky, wrap it up. So indeed they come forward and they bring the Christian man and they bring the Muslims and they gather to pray towards Allah. As soon as he raises his hands, they grab his hands and they take what's inside his garments and wrap it up. When they wrap it up, they bring it, because no rains fell, because that thing which was inside did not be revealed to the sky. They come towards Imam Hassan al-Askari and they ask him, oh Imam Hassan al-Askari, how did you know what's happened? He says, do you know what that thing was that's inside? He says, what is it? He says, it's a bone of a prophet of Allah. That in honor of a bone of a prophet Allah, the skies bring down rain. I ask you, if the body, the flesh and the bones of Rasulullah are there in Karbala, how can you say it did not rain tears of blood for Abu Abdullah? You'll find in Karbala, when we mourn tonight, Imam al-Hussein has just been killed and his head put on a spear. Abu Abdullah at this very moment is rested, but you'll find the tragedy for Zainab starts from tonight. The tragedy for Al-Masa'ib tonight it starts. Imam al-Hussein has returned towards Allah, but Zainab's calamities, the trials, the tribulations for Zainab will start from tonight. When you find the first thing she witnesses after her brother Hussein's head's been put on a spear, you'll find she begins to see Umar telling his horsemen, prepare 10 fresh horsemen. I don't want horses that have been used within the war. I want you to bring me 10 horses that haven't been used, of the strongest. I want you to make sure that you sharpen the hooves under their feet. I want you to sharpen them. Why, O Umar ibn Sa'd? He says, I want to trample on all the bodies in Karbala. He begins, after they sharpen the hooves of the horses, He would say, go and, for example, trample on the body of Habib. When they go towards Habib, they would say, no, Habib, there is a particular family for him here, a tribe that defends Habib. They would say, you're not allowed to trample Habib. You've already killed Habib. You've already beheaded Habib. But you're not allowed to trample his body. They would go towards Muslim ibn Awsaj, the same thing. They would say he has a tribe to protect him. You've decapitated him. It doesn't matter. You're not allowed to trample on his body. Likewise, Ali al-Akbar, Qasim, Abbas had a tribe in Karbala. Every single one of the companions of the family you'd find had a person that would tell them that he's from our clan, that he's from our community, that we defend him. You've killed him, but you've also beheaded them. You're not allowed to trample on their body. But there was one body in Karbala. That one body didn't have a mother there, didn't have a father there, didn't have a tribe to defend him. Only one person was there in the plains of Karbala. He would say, Umar ibn Sa'ad, who is this one person that we can trample on? They would say, you can only trample on Aba Abdullah. Only trample on Hussein. You'd see the eye of Zainab looking at the head of Aba Abdullah on a spear. Then she sees the horse riders trampling the body, taking the body from one side of Karbala and again to the other side. She would see this. What else would the eye of Zainab see? Because this body of Aba Abdullah, what you need to understand is the ribs have been broken, have been crushed. But in the wasiyah of Aba Abdullah to Imam al-Sajjad, you know what he says? He says, my wasiyah to you, O Sajjad, when you come to bury me, do you know what I want you to put on my chest? I want you to find Asghar. When you find him, please bury him on my chest. But I ask you, how did he place him on a broken rib of Hussein? How did he place him on a chest that's been trampled on by the hooves of Bani Umayyah? How did he place Radi'? That himself, his head was severed from his body. What else does Zainab see in Karbala? Once this occurs, she sees the enemies coming towards the tents with fire in their hands. They would begin to burn the tents. Zainab would see the ladies running outside. She would see the children running, scared from the enemies, frightened from the enemies, running from one tent to another. She would see of the children that would be trampled on by the hooves of Bani Umayyah. She would see of the children that their clothes would catch fire and they would burn alive. Zainab would be seen. There's a person that says, I saw a lady. As all this is happening, I saw a lady leaving a tent, going back in, leaving a tent, going back in. That tent was set ablaze. The person comes, he would say, Ya Amat Allah, why do you not save yourself? I see you coming out of the tent running, then coming back into the tent. And likewise, she would say, we have a Alil in the tent. We have a sick person in the tent. That person was Sajjad. He could not have the energy to stand and remove himself from the burning tent. You'd see of the tragedies that would occur. You'd see the children of Hussein running from the enemies. Of them was a person by the name of Sakina. You'd see Sakina running. The traditions say that Shimur with a spear would strike Sakina. Sakina would fall unconscious. Kulthum would come and protect her. There was another 4-year-old that was on the plains of Karbala. She would say, as I'm running looking for my father Hussein, I cannot find him. I'm running around trying to find Ali al-Akbar, my brother, but I did not find him. I'm running around trying to look for my uncle Abbas, but I couldn't find him. She says, I saw a person come to me, but he didn't come with water. He didn't come with assistance. Do you know what she says? She says, he came to me, but he grabbed hold of my ears. She says, he grabbed hold of my earrings. He doesn't take them off normally, how you would on a delicate 4-year-old. He would rip the earrings off the ears of Ruqayyah. And you would find all of a sudden these children are running in Karbala. I want you to imagine all of a sudden having access to water. They'd bring the water to the children of Hussein. Of them that would say, how can I drink when my father Hussein died thirsty? Of them that would take the water and try to find their loved ones. Imagine the children of Abdullah taking the water towards the battlefront, trying to find the bodies of their fathers, of their uncles, of their brothers. But they couldn't make out which body belonged to who, because all of the bodies that lay there, none of them had heads. I want you to imagine a Rabab going and looking for Ali al-Asghar, saying, now I have milk to give you, O Ali. But she doesn't find him. She finds a body so small without a head. I want you to imagine Ramla trying to find that youth of Al-Qasim between the bodies and inside the burning tents. I want you to imagine the heart of a mother such as Layla looking towards Ali al-Akbar. I want you to imagine all these calamities in the eyes and through the eyes of Zainab. When we find this aspect, brothers and sisters, I want you to imagine that all of a sudden when Sayyida Zainab would go out on the field, this is one of the greatest notions that occur. That even on such a night with all the calamities that occurred, you'll find Sayyida Zainab, Sajjad comes to her. You know what he says to her? He says, oh my auntie, I see that you're praying while seated. You've never missed a prayer, oh Zainab, oh my auntie, but why do you sit and pray? She would say, do not blame me, Sajjad. Every time I try to stand, that the calamities are so strong, I find myself falling. That every time I stand, the calamities are too great, that I can only pray whilst I'm sitting, Sajjad. But you know what the greatest moment in Karbala was for Zainab? You'll find Hussein, every time comes when Abdullah would lose, for example, Ali al-Akbar. He would take the blood of Ali and throw it towards the sky, saying to Allah, oh Allah, accept our sacrifice. Abbas would fall again, oh Allah, accept our sacrifice. All of the companions, Imam Hussein would be there to offer him as a sacrifice. But I ask you, who was the one that offered Abdullah as a sacrifice? You'll find in the midst of the night, while everyone's eyes rested, there was a lady that went into the plains of Karbala, tripping over her loved ones, tripping over her sons, Awn al-Muhammad, going past a body of Abbas, seeing him without a right hand and a left, seeing that painful arrow in his eye, trying to find the body of Abdullah until she sees what's left of a trampled body. I want you to imagine the heart of a sister seeing Hussein every day when she wakes up, and the last person before she sleeps, that beautiful face, unrecognizable. She'd see a body without a head. And what remains of the body of Hussein? I want to ask how difficult and how heavy was that body of Zainab to lift, that she places her hands under Hussein, raises Hussein's body and what was left of the body, and she would look towards the skies and say, Ya Allah, taqabbal minna hadha al-qurban, accept, oh Allah, this sacrifice from us. You'll find at that moment she would return towards the tents. When she would return, I want you to imagine how tired Zainab was, chasing the children, protecting them, as the enemy is trying to whip them, striking them with the spears, striking them with the sword's handles. Zainab running around from one tent to another. How tired was she? How much calamities befell her? How hurt was she? How much was she mourning her loved ones? Even at that moment, she says, I cannot sleep. My eye cannot rest. My eye has to guard all those orphans, all those ladies. My eye has to be the eye that guards Sajjad. She's tired. She's very lonely in Karbala. She needs strength. All of a sudden, she sees someone coming from the distance. She says, I saw a person that was masked coming towards us. I say to the man, stop where you are, do not come closer. This is the family of Rasulullah. These women are the women of Bani Hashim, do not come closer. She says the man doesn't stop, he continues to come closer. She says, I became in a stance where I brought a broken spear and I held it up saying, do not come closer, do you not know who I am? I am the daughter of Ali. She says, don't come closer, oh man. He continues to come closer. She would say, reveal yourself. Who are you that's coming towards us? He opens the mask and he looks towards Zainab. And he would say, oh Zainab, I am your father Ali. Zainab, I am here to guard the children and women. Zainab, your eye can rest for a few moments before you go towards the journey ahead. You'll find Imam Sahib al-Asr wa Zaman, he says, لَأَبْكِيَنَّ عَلَيْكَ بَدَلِ الدُّمُوعِ دَمَا. One of the scholars would see the Imam. He would ask him, oh Imam, we read that you cry instead of tears, you cry blood for Aba Abdullah. Oh Imam, which is the tragedy that made you cry tears of blood for the Imam? Was it the tragedy of Aba Abdullah? He would reply by saying, by Allah, if Aba Abdullah saw what I saw, he would cry as well. He would say, was it the tragedy of Aba Fadl al-Abbas? Was it the fact that you know that Abbas gave his right hand, that he gave his left hand, that he gave away his eyes defending the religion of Islam? He would say, by Allah, if Abbas saw what I saw, he himself would cry as well. He would say, was it Ali al-Akbar, the spitting image of Rasulullah? They would say what? Imam would say, by Allah, if Ali would see what I saw, he would cry in the same way as well. You know for a fact that Imam Sajjad never came a time after Karbala except when he drank water. That water was salty. Do you know why? Because he remembers the thirst of Abu Abdullah, that his tears would flow down his cheeks into the water. Oh Imam, Sahib al-Asr wa Zaman, if we understand that it wasn't for these that you cry tears of blood, who then do you cry these tears of blood for? He would say, I cry these tears for the calamities that went through the eyes of Zainab. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un.